Hey everyone, and welcome back to English with Confidence. I'm Gabby.
And I'm Pedro. Thanks for tuning in to another episode where we help you learn English through natural conversation.
Today, we're diving into one of my favorite English idioms, no pain, no gain. Pedro, I know you've been wanting to talk about this one for a while.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's such a common expression in English, and I think it really captures something important about how English speakers think about hard work and success.
Totally. So, for our listeners who might not be familiar with this idiom, Pedro, why don't you start us off? What does no pain, no gain actually mean?
Great question. So, no pain, no gain basically means that you can't achieve something valuable or worthwhile without some effort, sacrifice, or difficulty. The pain here doesn't necessarily mean physical pain.
Right.
It could be discomfort, hard work, giving up something you enjoy, or just pushing through difficult times. And the gain is the positive result you get from going through that difficulty.
Exactly. It's like saying you have to work hard to get good results. Now, do you know where this saying comes from? Because I find the history of idioms fascinating.
Oh, that's actually really interesting. So the phrase no pain, no gain became popular in the 1980s, especially in fitness culture.
Mm-hmm.
You know, think Jane Fonda workout videos, aerobics classes. But the idea is much older. There's actually a similar saying from the 1600s, no pains, no gains. Notice the plural forms there.
Oh, interesting. So it evolved over time.
Exactly. And even before that, there were Latin expressions with the same meaning. But it was really the fitness boom of the 80s that made no pain, no gain the version we use today.
That makes so much sense because when I think of this idiom, I immediately think of exercise and working out. Like if you want to build muscle or lose weight, you have to push yourself through the discomfort of intense exercise.
Yeah, that's probably still the most common context where people use it. You might hear someone say, I know these workouts are tough, but hey, no pain, no gain.
Come on, just 5 more reps. Remember, no pain, no gain.
Exactly. But here's what's really cool about this idiom. It's expanded way beyond just fitness. You can use it for basically any situation where hard work leads to good results.
Oh, absolutely. Like studying for exams. I remember when I was learning English, I'd spend hours every day practicing pronunciation and grammar.
Uh-huh.
It was mentally exhausting, but my English teacher always reminded us, no pain, no gain. If you want to speak fluently, you have to put in the work.
That's a perfect example. And look at you now. All that hard work paid off. You could also use it in business contexts, like someone might say, starting your own company isn't easy, but no pain, no gain.
Yeah, or even in relationships. Working through conflicts with friends or family can be uncomfortable. But it's necessary if you want to have strong, healthy relationships. No pain, no gain applies there, too.
That's such a great point, Gabby. And I think this is why English learners really need to understand this idiom. It reflects a core value in English-speaking cultures, especially American culture.
What do you mean by that?
Well, there's this idea that success comes from individual effort and perseverance. You know, the pull yourself up by your bootstraps mentality. No pain, no gain really captures that spirit of working hard to achieve your goals.
Right, that makes total sense. It's very much about personal responsibility and not giving up when things get tough.
Exactly. Now, let me share a personal story about this. Last year, I decided to learn how to play guitar. And man, the first few months were brutal.
And speaking of cultural context, I think it's interesting how this idiom shows up in so many different areas of American life. Like you'll hear it in sports commentary, motivational speeches, business meetings. Oh no, what happened?
Absolutely. In fact, I was watching a basketball game last week, and the commentators said something like, "This young player's improvement this season is incredible. Just goes to show, no pain, no gain really applies in professional sports." My fingers were constantly sore. I couldn't get the chords right, and everything sounded terrible. I was so frustrated, I almost quit several times.
Oh, that's perfect. And in the workplace, you might hear managers use it during challenging projects. Something like, I know these late nights are tough, but no pain, no gain. This project will really put our company on the map.
Oh, gosh, I can relate to that feeling.
And here's something really useful for our listeners. There are several variations and similar expressions that basically mean the same thing, like, nothing worth having comes easy, or if it were easy, everyone would do it. But my guitar teacher kept reminding me, no pain, no gain, Pedro. Every great guitarist went through this. And you know what? He was right. After about 6 months of daily practice,
Oh, those are great examples. And sometimes you'll hear, you can't make an omelet without breaking eggs, which is basically saying the same thing, that you can't achieve something good without some difficulty or sacrifice along the way.
I could finally play some basic songs, and it felt amazing. All that early pain and frustration was totally worth it.
Oh, that's such a perfect example. And I bet now when you pick up the guitar, you remember that struggle and appreciate how far you've come.
Absolutely. What about you? Do you have a no pain, no gain story?
Oh boy, do I ever. So a few years ago, I decided to train for a marathon. Now, I was not a runner at all. I could barely jog around the block without getting winded.
Oh, wow. That's ambitious.
Right? Everyone thought I was crazy, but I was determined. I started with a training program that gradually increased the distance each week. The first month was absolutely miserable.
I can imagine.
My legs ached constantly. I had blisters on my feet, and there were mornings when I literally had to drag myself out of bed to go running. But I kept telling myself, Gabby, no pain, no gain. You signed up for this marathon. Now you have to do the work.
Did you actually finish the marathon?
I did. And crossing that finish line was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. All those months of early morning runs, sore muscles, and mental battles, it was all worth it for that moment.
That's amazing, Gabby. And it's such a perfect real-life example of no pain, no gain. You literally couldn't have achieved that goal without going through all that discomfort and hard work.
Exactly. And I think our stories show how versatile this idiom is. It applies to physical challenges, creative pursuits, really any area where you want to improve or achieve something significant. You know what's interesting, though? I've learned that no pain, no gain doesn't just apply to big achievements like marathons or learning instruments. It's also about smaller daily habits that add up over time.
That's a great point. Now, for our listeners who are learning English, let's talk about how to actually use this idiom in conversation. When would you naturally say, no pain, no gain?
That's such a good point. Like getting up 30 minutes earlier to study English every morning might be uncomfortable at first, but over time, no pain, no gain, your language skills will improve dramatically.
Good question. You might use it to motivate yourself or someone else when things get difficult. Like, if a friend is complaining about how hard their new job is, you could say, I know it's tough, but no pain, no gain. This experience will really help your career.
Right. Or you might use it to explain why you're doing something difficult. For example, why am I taking all these extra classes? Well, no pain, no gain. I want to get promoted next year.
Exactly. And it's worth noting that the tone is usually encouraging or matter of fact, not negative. You're acknowledging that something is hard, but emphasizing that the difficulty is worthwhile.
That's such an important point, Gabby. It's not about complaining. It's about accepting the difficulty as part of the process. There's an optimistic outlook built into this idiom.
And here's something interesting. Sometimes people use it ironically or jokingly, like if you're doing something really unpleasant but not necessarily important, you might say, "No pain, no gain," with a laugh to acknowledge how silly the situation is.
Oh, that's true. Like when I'm cleaning out my messy garage and I jokingly say, well, no pain, no gain, even though it's not exactly a life-changing achievement.
Exactly. But mostly you'll hear it used seriously as genuine motivation or explanation for why someone is doing something challenging.
So, before we wrap up, let's give our listeners some homework. This week, try to notice when you or people around you are doing something difficult to achieve a goal.
Before we give our listeners that homework assignment, Pedro, should we talk about any common mistakes people make when using this idiom? I've noticed some non-native speakers sometimes use it incorrectly. Great idea. Maybe you're studying for an exam, learning a new skill, or working extra hours on a project. Those are perfect situations to think about no pain, no gain.
Oh, absolutely. One mistake I hear sometimes is people using it for any kind of suffering, even when there's no clear benefit or goal. Remember, the gain part is crucial. There has to be a positive outcome that makes the pain worthwhile.
And if you feel comfortable, try using the phrase in conversation. Remember, it's all about connecting hard work with positive results.
Exactly. You wouldn't say no pain, no gain about getting stuck in traffic, for example, because there's no benefit from that frustration. It's specifically about voluntary difficulty that leads to improvement or achievement.
And here's a bonus tip for our listeners. Try keeping a journal this week. Write down every time you hear someone use no pain, no gain, whether it's on TV, in conversation, or online. Notice the context and think about whether it's being used seriously or humorously.
All right, that's a wrap for today's episode. Thanks so much for joining us on English with Confidence. Remember, learning a language takes time and effort, but I love that idea. And if you really want to challenge yourself, try creating your own sentences with no pain, no gain, based on situations in your own life. Share them with friends or language exchange partners and ask for feedback.
No pain, no gain.
Exactly. Keep practicing, keep pushing yourself, and we'll see you next time. Until then, speak with confidence.
Bye, everyone.